happy to be given the opportunity to address this important issue here today. Well, everybody agrees that the transport sector remains one of the most important challenges for Europe to reach our climate and resource efficiency targets. The transport sector is the sector which is finding it the hardest to break the CO2 curve, with many of the new technologies being either expensive or not yet commercially viable. And the demand for mobility is not decreasing, on contrary. So we have to find solutions. And let me be clear, I believe that biofuels is a part of the mix of solutions that we need to succeed in greening our transport. In fact, we need every percentage of everything. So to reject biofuels is not an option.
Why do we believe that biofuels should play a role in our climate policy and energy policy? Because indeed that is the Commission's position, and it remains the Commission's position. Let me just conclude by saying that the Commission remains committed to biofuels. We certainly have not yet discovered how we can achieve decarbonization of the transport sector without some degree of fuel switching. In the longer term, we hope, of course, for fuels from transport other than liquid fuels, for example, electricity. But we see also, as you said, Jennifer, that in the very short term, that doesn't seem to be just around the corner.
The paper reveals that just one bioethanol plant in Europe protects up to 48,000 hectares of the most important biodiverse habitat in the world and protects the equivalent emissions of more than 600,000 tons of CO2 per year of associated carbon stock. The UK government funded a study this year on ILUC which did take these issues into account. The report was peer-reviewed and approved by the government's Scientific Environmental Panel before it was published just 1 month ago. The study reports that under all 8 scenarios considered, European wheat ethanol indirectly saves greenhouse gases, principally as a result of preventing that expansion of soybeans.
We need a very strong reduction in energy demand, and in some areas the EU has put successful policies in place. In other areas we are still waiting for such policies. But that's unlikely to be enough to hit the decarbonization targets. We also need to do something about the carbon footprint of our fuels. So what is our desire on the fuel side? We would like to see fuels decarbonize. We would like to see honest carbon accounting for fuels. And we would like to see EU policy based on the carbon performance of fuel rather than the name of fuel. Currently we have a name-based fuel policy. In particular, in the transport area, we implicitly stimulate biofuels. We might be moving to, again, a new name-based policy called second-generation biofuel. You should not make that mistake. We should base our policy on the carbon performance on the fuel and not on what the fuel is called.
Just very quickly, because the last intervention and a couple of the interventions from the floor have highlighted some fundamentally wrong aspects of this issue with biofuels. It's actually not true to say that all land use change results in releases of carbon from the soil. You can see with the latest results actually from Brazil that it's that the expansion of sugarcane area onto certain types of land has enhanced carbon stocking. And actually we can see that in the afforestation programs in India, for example, and in China, which points the way towards a major potential option for dealing with climate change or helping to mitigate climate change and also adapt to climate change in the long run, which is the management of land as a whole for enhanced carbon stocking and potentially enhanced biodiversity.
I think that the second strong agreement, and I see this coming from several members of the panel, is that the answer to the question that was put to this debate is that we need to decarbonize transport with better biofuels, with good biofuels. And this was actually mentioned by the elected representative Hans Joos, that we should promote better greenhouse gases performing biofuels. And again, this is important, actually. We have legislation, we have regulation, we have those levers actually pushing towards better biofuels, and we have technology. How we actually are going to leverage that technology, how we are going to incentivize that technology so we can produce better greenhouse gases performant biofuels. We need to recognize that there are over 65 countries in the world that they are implementing some sort of biofuel mandate or biofuel policy. And I think that Europe shouldn't lose the opportunity to actually be present in that debate and being able to influence the uptake of sustainability standards in all those markets. We all agree that there are indirect land use change impacts in the production of biofuels. Whether the Commission decide on one side or the other, and I have to say I don't envy the position and the decision that the Commission needs to do, I think that we all agree as well that we shouldn't lose sight of the wider challenge of decarbonizing transport, and that the real importance of today's biofuels and tomorrow's advanced biofuels.